Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to our 1 o'clock work session for the Cleveland City Council. Today being Monday, September 23rd. It is 1 o'clock, and we have a couple of presentations. I will let the council know that the Tarver distributing team will be joining us at the 3 p.m. meeting. They're very busy work schedule, but we did want to have them come by and say thank you for their recent donations across our community. Looks like the first presentation, Mr. Fivas, is Mr. Broom and Stormwater.
Well, thank you. We wanted to have the opportunity. We have actually one of the better, or probably the best stormwater program in the state. Chris Broom runs that, and we wanted him to update you on some items, on some of their activities. He's probably going to tell you that we are required by federal law and our NPDES permit to have certain stormwater activities, and he's going to talk about the ins and outs of that. He's going to talk about our educational programs and stuff like that. And Chris loves to get up and speak in public, so I encourage you to harass him. No. Chris is very good, and we're certainly appreciate his contributions to the city. And Chris Broom, you can get up and tell us a little bit about yourself.
He's got the best beard in Bradley County.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce one of our employees. His name's Ben Rainey. He helps us with our outreach program, which is what my presentation is going to be over today. Ben, can you join us? Ben's a pleasure to work with. He shows up to work with a smile on his face every day.
It's awesome.
He's a big help to our stormwater
Is there a
program.
mandatory picture after this?
Yes, that'd be great.
With and without?
With and without the no, I think we'll leave that in. Like Joe had mentioned earlier, this is a requirement from the state that we have a stormwater program. Once the cities and counties in the state of Tennessee reach a certain threshold based on population, they're required to have a stormwater program. We're required to have a permit with the state, and in that they have different sections in that permit. Two of those are the items I'm going to speak with you today about. The first one being education, the second one being participation. And both of those involve the public. The state also requires us to address certain topics in those elements of our program. For public education, it is impacts on water quality, maintenance of stormwater control measures, that's the detention ponds, retention ponds you'll see throughout the city. It's also for proper storage, use, disposal of pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, along with oil and other automotive fluids. They also want us to reach out to the community and let them know that there's a way for them to report illicit discharges. That's anything other than rain going down our storm drains. The importance there is when something enters our storm drains, it goes directly to our streams and creeks. There's no treatment from the catch basin to the creek. For our participation, we also have some topics, kind of mirrors what we do for education. They include pollution prevention, impacts to water quality or local stormwater issues, storage, use, and disposal of household waste, automotive-related fluids, pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers, and also for the city staff to follow up with the reports that we do get from the citizens about a possible illicit discharge. Behind me, there's a small sampling of some of the public education events that we'll hold yearly, again, to meet those requirements from the state. The first one is we partner with the Tennessee Stormwater Association as their social media outreach campaign, and they will make posts to their Facebook and to X, and those variety topics of water quality and other related environmental issues at the time. We'll hold conservation camps. That is a camp geared to elementary school students. It's a one-day camp, and think of it kind of like an environmental expo for the children. They learn everything pretty much related to stormwater, recycling, and so forth. We also offer training to teachers in the form of Project WET. It's a one-day class. We usually offer it in June. And it has two segments. It has a classroom environment, and they learn how to take the water quality topics and infuse that into their classroom curriculum. We also attend multiple events throughout the year. A few of those are the Main Street Cruise-In, the Hot Slaw Festival, and the Master Gardeners events. During those events, we'll set up a booth. We'll hand out brochures. We have a few giveaways to kind of lure the public to our booths, a sampling of which you can find those blue bags at your desk. Staff also holds pre-construction meetings, and this is prior to issuance of a land disturbance permit inside the city. So that's everything from residential to commercial developments. They meet with us. We go over what the requirements are for from our stormwater ordinance during the construction phase and then post-construction phase. Staff also installs 150 drain markers, and that's to better reassure the public or to inform the public that only rain down the drain is basically what the little plaque says. So we put those in our catch basins and let them be aware of that. Now we'll get into some fun parts with some numbers. Since 2004, we've had 86 public outreach events. We've reached just over 6,000 citizens. And into the participation events, a few of those are listed. We have stream cleanups, Tennessee Tree Day, Household Hazardous Waste Collection Days, Tire Take Back Days, and the Stormwater Ordinance Review. We put our Stormwater Ordinance up for public review, take any comments we receive, and present those to our Stormwater Board. So dialing down into the events themselves, the stream cleanups, when we started in '04, we would have one in the spring and one in the fall. Now we're up to about 4 a year. So far since '04, we've held 63 events. We've received volunteers of 3,278 at those events, and we've collected 514 tires during the stream cleanups alone. We've collected 2,155 bags of trash, and when you convert that for weight, that's 54 tons of trash removed since '04 from our streams and creeks. Tennessee Tree Day, that's a new event that we have been hosting the last few years, and we've had 3 of those so far and given away 400 trees. That's a statewide event, and it's growing in popularity. We've actually upped the number of trees we'll be handing out this coming spring. The next events are Household Hazardous Waste Collection Days. We've had 15 of these. These are in a partnership with the Bradley County Sheriff's Department, the Bradley County Stormwater Department, and Keep Cleveland, Bradley County Beautiful.
I love that song.
So we've had just shy of 6,000 households attend those events. Tire Take Back Days, that's another new event for us. Same group of individuals help us with these events as well. We've had 4 of them. We've had 211 households participate and collected 1,250 tires. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to advertise our last few events that we have coming up this year. The first one will be this Saturday at the Justice Center. It'll be from 8 to 12, and it's a Tire Take Back Day. Now, these Tire Take Back Days are solely for residents. It's not for the commercial industry to drop off their tires.
And do you check tags as they come in, Chris? Or?
We do our best.
Yeah.
It's kind of obvious when they're coming in with truckloads. But for the most part, we don't have any issues during the collection day. Our last stream cleanup of the year will be at Tinsley Park as part of the Tennessee River Rescue. That's another statewide stream cleanup event. And it'll be the 5th of October from 9 to 1. Our last event of the year will be the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. Again, it'll be at the Justice Center, and it'll be November the 2nd from 8 to 12. As I mentioned earlier, we have several partnerships that we've developed over the years. I don't think we could do the number of events that we do throughout the year without these partnerships. They include the local stormwater divisions, Keep Cleveland, Bradley County Beautiful, the schools, our industry community. I just can't say enough good things about them. They do a really great job, and again, we thank their participation in those events. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Chris, great presentation.
Thanks, sir.
Ben Raining, thank you for joining us today. Any questions from the council? Mr. Fivas?
I think we need a picture with Ben. At least with you, Mr. Mayor.
As long as I don't have to stand next to Tom Caston, I'm okay. Yeah, Ben, we'll just put Ben right here and we'll just
And
stand
anyone
up
else that wants to be in the picture with the,
with Ben Raining and Chris Broom.
You go, Ben, just turn around.
This is perfect, you can't see me. No, it's perfect. I'll do this side. Dave, you don't want to join us? Can you get us, Bev?
Yes.
Oh, you're going.
No, 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 no,
You
no.
may stand down here.
Don't have to guess.
Where am I? It makes it fair.
I'll just stand behind here.
this is a new
As long as you see the
promotional
camera.
opportunity.
Hey, let me get behind Mayor first. Wait, hang on.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, on three. 1, 2, 3. Wait, I got to turn it on first. 1, 2, 3. Take one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Hey, Bev, you make sure that all those upcoming events with Chris are all on all of our calendars? I know Marcia will be at Tire Take Back. That's her favorite thing.
Yes, sir. Now we want to take the opportunity to introduce one of our newer employees, and I'll hand it over to Chris Miller to introduce him.
I just wanted to start by saying the IT department doesn't have a mascot.
It's okay.
But we do have an Abigail White, who is our newest employee. She graduated from Lee University with a degree in ecology. She started out in the stormwater section of Chris Broom, and we stole her, and she is now our GIS technician for the city. She works with our GIS department, which is overseen by Chris Gaylor, and basically her job duties are to manage the GIS servers, make sure they're up to date and things like that, and also do maps and keep all the data up to date for the department. So she really helps Chris out a lot, and we're really excited and grateful to have her.
Fantastic. Welcome. She says no. While we're still under special presentations, I failed to say welcome, Councilman Moore and Councilman Goff. This is your first session in the chamber.
It is.
You were sworn in 2 weeks ago at the museum, but this is your first time up on the dais, so we welcome you, and we look forward to serving with you for a long time to come.
Thank you.
I would also like to give the opportunity, if there's anyone here from the public who would like to speak now before we get into the agenda. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to the council on any subject? I don't see any hands, so we will go on. And I would be remiss, even though Tim Senior doesn't know this is about to happen. Tim, as I understand it, you are being rewarded by the state of Tennessee Wednesday for being a business for greater than 100 years. You're 170, so you're almost 200 years.
That's right.
But the state of Tennessee is recognizing century-old businesses in the state of Tennessee. And so this Wednesday at 2 p.m., and I'll make sure Bev puts that on the calendar, but council's all invited. We're going to give, actually the governor is giving a certificate to this Cleveland Daily Banner. And Tim, that's quite an accomplishment to be in business for 170 years. And I know these meetings seem that long, but we are grateful that you're here every week and do such a great job for us. So thank you.
Have you been there the whole time?
Almost.
Almost. That's funny. That's funny. All right, seeing none, no one else requesting permission to speak before the council, we will go to agenda item number 2, which is the city manager's report. Mr. Fivas, we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and city council members. And as the mayor indicated, we are very appreciative of and glad that Dwayne and Dan showed up today on time. And but as from the city staff, we are just elated to have your expertise in so many issues and help us move the city in whatever direction you decide to move it in. So with the rest of the council, I want to start out that we do have a couple ribbon cuttings coming up. One is an East Circle Greenway project. We actually completed this earlier this year, and we hadn't had the opportunity to get this scheduled. Right now, we're tentatively looking for October 28th at 12 p.m. That's before a council meeting that will go out there with the Greenway board, and that's a nice little extension onto the Greenway. What we really want to accomplish, and I was having a conversation with Tom Cassida, who mentioned that Dwayne would be very interested in this, is extending that Greenway all the way to Tinsley Park and being able to have that as an area that we can park on and do that. So I'm sure that we'll have more conversations, but this is the next step in that, and it went up, and it connects into probably several hundred homes that now have ability to walk and get on the Greenway and be able to get pretty much all the way to Willow Street, at least for right now. So it's a nice little project, and we'll get out there and do that right now. October 28th, 12 p.m. unless something changes. We're also, as you have seen, and I was elated to see that the pavers actually came in and started paving process on Inman Street last night. They started with doing some milling and getting that taken care of. They probably might take probably a couple weeks to get through that, mostly because of the rain that we're expecting. We're expecting a good deal of rain for the last half of this week, so that may push some things to next week, and that moves us very, very close to having Inman Street completed. That we have pretty much everything completed except for the banners. We have new banners for the downtown, welcoming residents into the downtown, but also new trees will be brought in October, and they will be planted. Outside of that, we understand that AT&T, or it's not AT&T, it's the Communication Workers of America have settled their strike. Is that what I heard correctly? So that was good. I would drive by and see them out on Westland Drive, and I said, boy, I really wish you were working on our downtown. But they've resolved that, and they should be finishing up the work in the downtown hopefully in the next week or so, which is mostly down at some of the unpaved parts, or the ones uncemented parts down there, because we're waiting for some poles to remove, that they have to take their lines off and then so you can remove the poles. But we also have Edwards Street has some power lines that are being underground and brought back further on Edwards. So we're working through that process, and they'll hopefully be able to take care of that in the next couple weeks. So we should be pretty much done with Inman Street at that time. Right now we hope to have some level of ribbon cutting or some type of event sometime in November. We probably we have a conundrum in November that we need to discuss. That's not necessarily today.
Joe, I've got it on my schedule, November 1, is that correct?
For Inman Street,
No, for the park.
we're not to the park yet, but that's definitely November 1st. But Inman Street, or for the meetings in November, we have Veterans Day on one of our meetings, and then we have the Monday before our Thanksgiving meeting. We've kind of kicked around a schedule. We could split the baby and just have a meeting on November 18th and get away from Thanksgiving, and allows us a little bit more there. But that people will have to look at their schedules, and we'll work through that from the official channel. But the ribbon cutting will likely take place right around that November 1st timeline. Once we get the trees in and there, and if everything goes like we expect, the Johnston Park will have that ribbon cutting sometime in November, and we're targeting November 1st, but sometime in November is probably more accurate. But certainly before the holiday season is what we're looking for. So those are some things that we'll get on people's calendars coming up that are important. Wanted to give you an update that we were able to Dustin Tomey was really did fantastic work, as he was able to look at the Blue Cross Blue Shield grant option and basically put in a wonderful grant opportunity for Shepherd Field, is to make that into a turf field, and also make a connection from the parking that was already constructed back, and it really kind of pulls together that area. And we sure hope that Blue Cross, and you guys had already approved this application, but I just wanted to note that Dustin did an outstanding job on a short time frame to get that in. It's probably about a $2 million project if we were to receive that, which would be a great significance. We have, we're working towards a proposal that would relocate our city wellness center, which is right now by Fire Station 1, to the South Cleveland Recreation Center. And I've talked to many of you about that. Our goal is to just try to maximize the use of the area. The public would still have full ability to use the gym, use the swimming pool. We'll have programming, but having some additional space, and what's probably the most important is adequate space that isn't limited with ADA issues. To get to our city gym, that right now you have to go upstairs to do that, and we want to try to alleviate that first. Second, we want to create a city wellness center that employees and families can go and use that, and be able to have a good experience that they can bring their daughters or sons, and they can shoot baskets while mom or dad is working out. And Kim Miller has been a real champion of this, and she's held together our current city gym for a long time, and I think it's time to make an investment in that. We have done some architectural engineering work to see, well, what we're thinking, can we be able to do that? And the answer is yes, that we don't have any limitations. And probably the other thing, the limitation with the city gym, it doesn't have any showers or has small locker room space. And this new build out would allow that type of facility. So we're trying to fast track that as much as possible.
Joe, do you think we're gonna have to put an addition on to the,
No,
you think you can do it in the footprint?
That's what the engineer
Okay, good.
indicated that with what we want to do, and now we're just trying to lay things out to make sure we can get the equipment into where it needs to be. And I don't think there's have to be an addition, just reutilizing some existing space and maximizing it.
Good.
Joe, would we have any issues with parking if we had extra people going there?
You know, there's two things with the parking over there. There is some parking in towards the back of the building that's underutilized, and there's some parking on the side that right now there's plenty of parking there. We may have to have a conversation with Flowers Bakery. A number of their employees will sometimes park in some of the public spaces, and it's just a matter of having a friendly conversation with them to help them find them another location. They have a parking lot, and they should be parking in that, but they're parking in ours, so it's just a matter of them working with us on that.
Mr. Fivers, two quick questions. Health and wellness, we mentioned the Dustin Tomney Blue Cross Blue Shield. Are there health and wellness grants that could help us refurbish and maybe upgrade not just this gym area, but the entire complex and sort of give everything a facelift?
We can certainly look at that.
And then I know my granddaughter was cheer and dance and sort of utilized the gym area. Are we talking about the rooms that are currently used for like the summer camp side, or where exactly are we?
If you go in on the right-hand side,
Okay.
we have a few employee offices that we can relocate.
Got it.
And there's already a gym space on that side. Most of the space that you use for the camps and like that would be unaffected.
Got it.
Our goal is to be able to do any programs. You know, there's some really great programs that they do with basketball for sure.
How about the Christmas pageant? I've heard a lot of concern about kids in that area come to see Santa Claus right there.
Everything will be able to happen without a doubt. We have adults with disabilities that frequently come to the gym on a weekly basis, and that will be able to continue. Swim leagues will be able to have the same access to their little locker room and the swim pool for that. So we'll bring some drawings and sketches and cost estimates for that. We did in the budget some funds for this. It was something that's been in the budget, and so I think we can move from there. Jonathan, did I miss anything?
You got it.
This is something that we've talked at our leadership team meeting that our, and I think you know this, but our police and our fire department have required physical fitness, and so this is important to them, and you know, I think that we want to go beyond just the requirement as I kind of already said, is we want a family member to come on a Saturday and be able to bring their son or daughter, and you know, we want to have like a little game room that they can play games, or they can go shoot baskets while mom or dad is on the treadmill doing that. Some of that stuff is already available to the public, but we just want to have a facility that that is meaningful to not only our employees but their entire families.
But Joe, what we're talking about, we're not doing away with any, I guess, activities that we've got going on at that point.
No events like the pageants and the Christmas and the.
Okay.
the
But we're
cheerleading.
talking about putting in I call it a weight room, but anyway, to replace the one that we've got, that we've got problems with. And it would be similar to the one that CU did for their employees.
I hope so.
I hope so
That's up
too.
to y'all.
Yeah, so, I feel like if we're gonna do it, we need to do it up to the level that, in my opinion, it helps us keep our employees
Mhm.
when we offer features like that
Mhm.
to the employees. And
right.
that's the same way that CU is looking at it, and, you know, they use, their employees, they use their facility quite a bit.
Yeah.
And most of it's off time, coming in, working, you know, I don't reckon any of it's during work period. But anyway,
Can we get a train for each position, each machine? Can we do that too? So we don't hurt ourselves? You gonna volunteer?
Jesus.
We gotta have the clean utilities.
Oh, anyway, but I think we're on the same page. I mean, you know, we, yeah.
Yeah, let's build like clean utilities.
How
Yeah.
about their summer camps, Joe?
I'm
Their
sorry.
summer camps? I know they offer summer camps.
Mhm.
Just curious. Everything's still gonna stay in place?
It should. I mean, we haven't, as far as summer camps, there still will be gym space allocated. There's space for them to do their stuff there. So I don't know of anything that would, you know, they use the swimming pool quite often, which would be available, stuff like that. So that's our stated goal. And when we bring a final plan, we can probably articulate how all those things will be dealt with, but that's our goal.
I'm just gonna say, in conjunction with what Councilman May was saying, Tim Henderson did tell me that several of their employees' health have improved greatly since they had the exercise program open up over there. And I also talked with the chief, and I understand that our firemen are supposed to, or are required to do so much exercise to stay in shape, to be able to stay on the fire department and do their job.
That's right.
And
And
stay-
same with police.
Police department.
And the police department.
Will that space stay the same where it's at right now, the same equipment for police and fire to use?
It will be, some of it will the equipment you'll use. What we've told the fire department
Space.
over there is that there will be a workout facility located in that area, but they certainly don't need the huge volume of space.
But you can keep the location right now too, right? To a limited.
There will be weightlifting, there will be equipment there, much smaller number of employees would be utilizing that. One thing is that you have the, you know, they might need a place for some meetings, community services, which might, you know, I know they have a need for storing of materials because we probably 2 or 3 times a year are trying to find places for them to store materials. And so that might afford them a little bit additional space, but we've committed to having some type of workout space for the fire department next to Fire Station 1. And have you ever used CU's gym?
I have.
Can we meet that expectation?
I hope we can. It's a nice one, and I go over and work out. So when the city gets theirs, I'll go over there and work out. I'll do both. No, it's very nice, and it is helpful to work out, so it'll be good.
Okay. Anyway, Kim, did you have any comments on that? Kim is really the guru on the city gym. Do you have anything, or have we covered it for now?
I'm just looking forward to it. I know our employees are going to do the job.
When will we get the renderings back?
We met with the fitness expert, was it Tuesday or Wednesday last week, and he's gone back to
It's not me.
program everything in a couple weeks.
Me either.
You have something?
No, they
Yeah,
wanted to come in.
because what he's talking about is there's people that lay out the facilities, make sure there's enough space, make sure you have the equipment. They may want to have, they may want to sell us equipment, but we may have to bid out some of that stuff. I think that there's also options with looking at how, like the YMCA, how they purchase their equipment and I think they actually use leases for equipment, that we probably need to investigate all of those things, and we'll bring that to you.
Joe, I would ask, maybe you do it a step further, is to reach out to some trainers and maybe have certain times in the morning, like 2 slots, that employees can go do aerobics or something like that as a benefit.
We, in the past, we offered all that stuff, and the limitations in the space did that, so we would certainly want to do that.
Yeah.
And we may actually, not for just employees, but for anyone in the community.
Okay.
I may
But
want to do that.
stress on employees, though, slots and times for them to have a workout.
Yeah,
Yep.
he'd be naughty now.
Yeah, get my trainers in there.
Yeah. Look
I'm
at-
working, I'm getting it back door.
Any more questions on that?
But, Joe, I mean, for my part, if we're gonna do it, I think we need to do it right. If we had to add on to the building a little bit, you know, I think that we need to look at it.
We'll get back with you.
We will, good.
Want to continue a discussion on the transitional housing and the emergency shelter. At our last meetings, we discussed our options for that. We've had meetings with the county mayor. We've discussed with Demetrius Ramsey, who is responsible for overseeing the homeless shelter. Corinne Freeman was involved in some level of conversation. And looking at, well, you know, because, and we have a couple new people, so I'll cover that. You had, a year ago or so, we had bids or we allocated funds to do an addition with about 2,000 square feet or so on a building that sits behind the current emergency shelter. And the bids came back. There was a flaw in the drawings originally. It's too hard to explain, but the drawings weren't done correctly. So we rebid it, and for about how many square feet is it, Kathy?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Jonathan?
Less than 3,000, I think. I don't
Yeah, it's like 2,500 or something.
Yeah, I think it's
I
2,500.
think it's that 2,500.
That we bid that, and the bids came back, and there, as at the last couple of meetings, we had $505,000. But in actuality, with the architectural services and all the things, it's $548,000 to that you would do on in this building, and it's a relatively smaller building. The only outside improvements would be putting a new roof on that building. So the council asked us to go and look and say, well, what are the other options for emergency shelter? And we had some conversations, and by all means, it's not the end all be all. They're very cursory conversations. So on our agenda today, we did put the bids that we had before. The bids have a 60-day life period, so if we're going to make a decision, they would either have to be today, or the bidder would have to extend their option for that. That one thing that we think, after talking to several of the experts on this, is that we are in need of additional transitional housing. That's a lot of this new facility would be for families that are getting services and, you know, lost a job or had some type of illness that forced them to go into a homeless situation. And a lot of our space taken up in our emergency shelter has a number of these folks in them that are in need of, you know, are probably not long-term. They just need to be able to find a job. They had an injury and they need to recover, and they have children, and how do you work through that? But we thought that there is some need and benefit in the community to have additional transitional housing constructed. And Kathy can come up and talk a little bit about, there is a potential for $1 million in community CDBG funds to be utilized for a similar facility. So that's something that's out there. We think that a facility probably would cost somewhere $3 to $4 million to construct. So we have about $1 million to start. Then Kathy has that there are options for some ARC grants, the Appalachian Region Commission grants, which are coming up. And there's also options for the county portion of some of their CDBG funds. And you want to talk a little bit about what those options are?
Okay. Let me clarify. The $1 million that we might be able to get, that is HUD money. It's not necessarily CDBG, but it is HUD money. The ARC grant, Appalachian Regional Commission grant, the pre-application is due in December. And then we could apply for about $500,000, but we need to have a conversation with the ARC people at the state to see if this would even be an eligible activity. Another possibility, we did talk to the county mayor to ask him if we could possibly utilize his CDBG small cities eligibility, because Bradley County gets small cities CDBG, where we get entitlement CDBG, they have to compete statewide. So, but we did ask him if we could have a conversation with the state folks and ask them if this would be something that they might want to look at. And we've got to figure out how to frame that. We'll have to tie that to community facility and maybe some type of economic development. So that's about $2 million. The CDBG small cities that the county, it could possibly go up to $1 million instead of $500,000. So we just need to lay some groundwork with the state folks and have some conversations to see if they would even entertain an application like that. All these applications, these grant applications are very competitive. So there's no guarantee that it would be funded, but we do need to have a conversation if we want to move forward.
If we apply, what's the timetable that we would know if we qualified and if we got him?
Well, if we do the ARC grant, it's a pre-application, I think that's due in December, then we have to submit a full application maybe in April, and then maybe we would probably know maybe by July 1 or a little sooner. The county small city CDBG, and of course the county commission would have to approve us utilizing that. They would have to approve that they make that application. But anyway, that is due, I think, in April, and we would know maybe in October if it's funded. The county CDBG is a 20% match, and the ARC grant is a 50% match. So.
And can you stack them on top of each other?
Yeah, we can stack stuff on top of each other. I mean, if we were to move forward with this, and I say this every time I speak, you have to be patient. You got to be patient. And we ought to, because it takes a while to get them funded, to get them up and running. You might not get it the first time, you know. But our homeless shelter it's not in really, really good shape. It needs a new roof. There's 2 buildings over there. The white building needs a new roof. It needs new windows. I was going to do that with my CDBG entitlement money, but I couldn't get it past NEPA because it's too close to the road. So we can't even put CDBG money in that homeless shelter over there, or the emergency shelter.
The old fire station.
That was your fire station.
That building.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So.
AC upstairs too. I went and toured it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we're okay right now as far as our services that we're providing. But we're going to have to do something for the future, and we're going to have to start researching and, you know, and figure out how to stack the money up and put it together. Of course, you know, we may have to put money in the budget every year for 2 or 3 years, because it would be, I don't know, 2 to 3 years before we ever really got it to the point where we could even start. Yes. Now, the county is putting in, is it 250,000? The county's putting in 250,000 of their ARP money, and we have committed 100,000. So that money is required to be obligated by the end of the year. So it is obligated. The county's money and the city's money is obligated.
So we gotta
But,
spend it by the end.
but no, we have to spend it by, we have 2 years from December to spend it.
Okay.
So we could possibly do maybe a design, we could maybe purchase the property, do the design, and do the site work, and get it ready, and wait for these other grants to be funded, or look at other avenues of funding. Now, there's also the THDA, they have home monies, and I have not checked with them, so I need to have a conversation with THDA as well to see if there might be a competitive grant that we could go after.
I have to imagine that property's value, got a value to it as well if we wanted to sell it. Eventually, if we.
Yes, yeah, I would think so, yes. Because it's a corner lot, yes.
Any more questions for Kathy? Actually, don't go too far.
Okay.
So I think where we're at is there is a just like any planning and design for doing a project, we believe that it's doable with a combination of some of these funds. You might have to apply a couple times for different grants, with the county doing their funding and the city doing some funding. And very importantly is we think that there would be probably some decent opportunities for private funding. There's all kinds of private foundations, there's private contributors that could help with transitional house, which isn't necessarily the emergency center component, you know, and looking at some of that. So I think Kathy was right. Our findings were it's probably going to take about, so your options are you take about 3 years, and we work diligently to find a location, find the funding, get it constructed. Similar to what the Caring Place did to construct their location. I'm not saying that that's the location it needs to go, but that they went through the similar process.
That was grant funded.
There was I think there was some HUD money in it.
Some HUD money, yes.
It looks phenomenal. I did
Yeah.
what
Thank
Bill
you.
asked me to do. It looks really,
I think,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of vacant property right there.
I think the Fleshman put in some money too. Was that the HUD part?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So,
okay.
just a follow-up question, you know, the current Wildwood facility is Cleveland Bradley Community Services and Emergency Services, thank you. And, you know, the county is the one that brought this, or committed their money first, and then we had it on our agenda to do this 505,000. Would the new plan include the similar city and county partnership and whatever the new construction would be? And
That's certainly up to the county. From my perspective is yes, they have to be a partner for that. I think that's
my hope would be that they are too.
because here's the thing: is it comes down to not only after you build it, you also have to have a business plan for
Sure.
operational costs, and that will take the county and the city to both be involved in that.
I think if we start with that end in mind, that this is a partnership
Yes,
and not a city project that we're trying to do ourselves.
that's right. And I didn't mean if I conveyed anything is
I just wanted on the record.
It's meant to
Yeah.
keep the same thing. So that's one option, is this 3-year process. it's probably going to be tricky. It's going to be there's going to be some difficulties with it, but you'll have a new facility for the next 50 years, and we can transition out of our current facility that we have. Another option is, on the agenda today, that you can't approve that, and they can go and construct 21 new bed facility, but then you're gonna be spending the $548,000 on that, and it's a tough call. I mean, this is kind of difficult stuff. So that's another option, and that might be able to bridge until you have a new facility, or you just say no to this facility, which I think anyone that's looked at it, just an internal upfit of a block building for $548,000 is, and that's really the issue, is a lot of money that probably isn't,
Lipstick on a pig.
what's that?
Lipstick on a pig.
That there's questions on, and I'm sure the contractor's looking at different things, but we think that our construction people have looked at it and said that it's high. So I think those are your three options moving towards our conversation at 3 o'clock, which are go all in and get with the county and try to figure out a global solution with the private sector, with all the brother and sister organizations and the nonprofits and all that. 2 is you do a hybrid and you do something to approve the 21 sites right now, which isn't a perfect thing, and then still work towards this, or just say no to the homeless opportunity that there is and there. So it's those are, I think, your three options, and there could be others or more conversations or more questions, but I think that's where I'll leave it for. I'm sure there's questions that need to be asked.
Joe, if this takes 3 years to kind of get started on a new one, if we decided to go that way, what about repairs? Because it was mentioned that the roof was bad at the location now and other things. It was hot upstairs. Where are we at on that if we had to do some of that work to get us till the new one's built?
You would have to do a cost benefit, some level of a cost benefit analysis on that. There's, can we probably wait 3 years on that? You probably could, even though it's leaking right now and there's problems. But part of the thing is that you can go and invest in that facility, and you might just want to keep that as the emergency shelter, as backup locations for those populations that might end up being. We might want to invest in that facility and keep that. You might have a new transitional housing facility if someone's looking for more transitional housing, or you might just have your regular emergency shelter activities. And Councilman Moore had mentioned that that there might be value in that, and you might go and look at the values and say, here's all the costs. We have to put in $70,000 to update this, but it might be worth $300,000 in land. I think that would be part of analysis at a different stage on trying to figure that out.
I have a statement and a question. The statement would be, I like that you're using the word transitional housing and emergency shelter, because these are different than what people commonly refer to as the homeless problem.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I like the distinction. I think that's important to city staff and to us that we delineate that. My question is, you kind of laid out, okay, if we go the 3-year route, build something for the next couple of generations, the county has to come along. What's the county's role currently with the current setup? Can we nix it without them and then say, hey, get in line? Help me
the current,
Administrative structure, what's the funding? I know what we.
we fund equally the community services organization led by Demetrius Ramsey. It's a 50-50 funding. They have federal and state money that comes in, and they get private donations, and that's kind of the funding method. And so, but the city, we have an agreement from 1994, I think, that says that we each put in 50% and match.
Can we nix it without them? Can we go make this a unilateral decision and just go on?
As far as, well, when you say nix it, as far as just not do this.
Right, and move forward with finding land and.
Yeah, that's up to you. I mean.
Without them.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to, this is really a council decision, but I would say, we've already committed $100,000 in funding. If the county wanted to go forward with that, they've committed $250,000. We've committed $100,000, and we intend to find additional money for the extra $150 if the council approved that. We would meet them halfway. But if you, so the one option is just let the county make the decision, but they have to find all the additional money if they want to do the 21 thing. They would need to come up with, we would put our 100 in, they would need to come up with another $150,000 to make that happen. Or we can just pull out our money. So yes, it's unilateral. It's our bid, and we can say no at any time. And I mean, you could also try to rebid it in 5 or 6 months to see if the markets are different.
So all this money is capital improvement, none of it's operations.
It's all capital
So
improvement.
let me talk about 2-3 years from now, building a new place. And that will increase, well, you've got capital, building, and then you certainly have an increase in operational costs. So talk me through that. And I'm for that. I'm looking for, you know.
Well, I mean, I think if we're going to spend private and city and county money, then we would have to step up, and we would need to do the requisite operational upgrades to be able to get the facility to operate and be efficient.
How do we get the county to, do we get the county's agreement to go along with this now? Or do we get down the road and just say, we hope, and we're gonna drag them along? And let me, they got a youth detention center problem. They're looking at borrowing money for the schools. They, you know, I don't want to get down the road and then it all sits with us, you know. And let me speak out the other side of my mouth a little bit. I think there is a lot of private money for these types of government approaches.
For transitional housing, yes.
Yes, there is a ton of private money out there that I think will offset the cost of this.
And to follow up, Councilman Estes, I believe Kathy mentioned ARC grant funding. The most recent ARC grant that Chattanooga just got is for recovery to work assistance and housing. So I think to your point, that is correct.
Federal stuff.
Joe, let me, for a timeline, especially for our 2 new council members, and I'm going to ask this in the form of a question like Jeopardy, but I think what came first here was the county money. I think they awarded the $250,000 before we awarded our 100, if I remember correctly, and then we got a bid for 505.
Now, we each put in 100.
Okay.
Because the costs that we were given were about 200.
Got it.
And then after, at some point, they amended their, you know, because they had $20 million in ARP and
We did not, yeah.
that they amended theirs up to 250 after the costs look like they're a little bit higher.
Okay. And not only were they a little bit higher, they were significantly higher. The bid came in at 505 or 548. Obviously, there's still a need for more money. And I think to Councilman Estes' point, I'm not sure that this would be a unilateral nixing of it. I think it would be more of a, let's find a smarter way to invest this money that does a better long-term outcome, rather than, to Councilman Moore's point, trying to fix a problem that, they need windows and they need roofs and they need air conditioning. And that building has been in bad shape in my entire tenure. It just continues to be an old building that we keep bandaging, trying to keep,
It's bad.
it may be past its entire life cycle. When was it built, fire station?
It was built in the 60s as a temporary building.
Temporary fire building.
Yeah,
Wow.
we were just using it until we decided to move on out, building a station. So, Joe, the money that the county money, is it locked in to be spent on that facility?
Yeah, I think what Kathy said is, it is locked in to be spent on some type of emergency shelter, transition, those types of purposes. And as long as it's, what's the word?
Obligated.
As long as it's obligated, then they'll have 2 more years that they could actually, I think Kathy was saying, is they could take that money and do preliminary planning, buy land,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I guess that's what I meant.
So it can still be used for those purposes as far as what Kathy's saying.
Yeah, so it could be used to purchase a site for a new facility.
Probably. And we would double check, but certainly for construction or design.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for our new council members, you probably both know this, but just humor me. This is another example of a 50-50 share where the Cleveland taxpayers are hurt because they're paying 100%,
Absolutely.
right? And so anytime there's a 50-50, I'd rather lock this in now and get some kind of
Reassurance.
from the county.
A 50/50 is a 74% city contribution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
74, yeah.
I mean, I could tell, each situation is unique unto itself. I understand that. This is not the library, this is not the museum, and it has different levers to maybe not fix the problem, but maybe help alleviate, improve things. And I don't know enough, but I do want some type of county
Commitment.
Yeah, a real commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Bill.
Well, can we meet with them and sit down and talk to those folks?
Council can definitely vote for the mayors to meet, come up with an agreement, bring it back to the 2 bodies.
The other piece that, and just to look at options is, this bid had a survive for 60 days, and early October it expires. It doesn't mean that you can't come back in January because it's already obligated. Is that you can come back and, let's say we don't get anywhere on this bid, or with the mayor talking to the mayor, or however that's gonna go. That gives us 4 months to come up with a real plan, and we would probably have something more for our strategic planning session. That you could, let's say if everything just didn't work out, you could just bid it again in January and see what the market looks at. And we can look at the bid specs again and see what we can do. So,
Joe, I hate to put a Band-Aid on a bad situation.
yeah,
And it seems like what we're doing.
it's,
If we go to the site that, on Wildwood,
A $500,000 Band-Aid.
yeah,
and you're overspending for the Band-Aid, potentially.
yeah.
And I think that we have to ask ourselves the question, is the transitional housing or emergency shelter folks, is that gonna get any better anytime soon? Or is that something that that we're gonna have this issue going forward for the next 20 years, and I would say that this is something that needs to be dealt with, one way or another, probably sooner on this continuum than later. Because what I'm afraid is that we're gonna lead, that if, with our lack of activity of taking this as a wake-up call, is that Demetrius calls us and say, hey, the roof collapsed at the, and I'm not saying there's any problems with the roof. Whatever the serious condition is at the emergency shelter, and then you have to do a lot more renovations, and then you're just putting money in there because you have to do something, is this really deserves, and I think David May said it correctly, is that, you know, sometimes are appropriate for a Band-Aid and sometimes are appropriate to look ahead.
Mayor, I don't want us to get in a position where for this shelter becomes like the animal shelter county has, you know, just putting a Band-Aid on it. And, I look at it that way too, you know, the good things they're gonna do and where they're at now. So I'm with Dr. Estes on this part is some way or another to get them to ride along with us on this part. Since we get so far out there, then we're committed to move on that, so.
Joe, how many does the present shelter house? How many would the addition house versus how many if we built a new shelter would house?
I know the new addition would be 21 new additional units. And I think it's like 46, do you know what?
I think we were going to be up to about 60.
Yeah.
Would be up to 60?
Yeah, if we did this renovation, I think it would have gotten it up to
Yeah,
about
so I think you're at
60.
about 40 to 60 with
But
this.
if we built a new facility, we would need to up that to probably 100. Yeah,
So
to make
the
sure.
facility would go up to 100.
Maybe.
No, we don't know.
We don't know.
That's
Maybe.
depending on what you guys
How
want to
much
do.
it costs and
Possibility.
possibility.
Okay.
Has anyone spoke to the county regarding a potential completely different facility?
Yeah, that was a conversation.
That was the conversation when I spoke to Mr. Davis about possibly using his small city CDBG eligibility. And so, you know, they could use that money for something else because they do a lot of water and sewer and things like that. So I think that would be a big deal for them to allow us to use that eligibility, and we would run that grant through the county. So both grants, ARC and CDBG, I have a meeting with the development district in the next couple of weeks to have them to help me approach these state people, because they write all of these grants for the communities, and the state people are very, very familiar with them when it comes to these particular grants. So we will probably get a conversation going with Brooks Carlton and some of those folks at the state for both programs.
And we are pretty hopeful that we already have $1 million
Yes,
potentially.
yes,
So
which is
there-
HUD money, but it's not CDBG, and it's already funded.
Throwing too many options, Joe.
I know, it's a
Killing
lot.
sorry.
It's a lot.
City staff have a
Yeah.
position on this?
I'll let him answer
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, go ahead. You know, I think that we would certainly be, if the council wanted to, that there's some validity in approving the bid, knowing that you won't get that back. But I think that if we, well, let me put it this way. If the council gives us clear and direct direction to move as expeditiously as possible and work as fast as possible, I don't think it's necessary to do this thing. If we think that it's gonna take 4 or 5 years, then I would say, then you should just approve this temporary option. So if there's very clear consensus and you know, that we're hopeful that the county will be involved, I think, you know, we hope that we could do it faster than that, seeing that we already have $1 million potentially.
Potentially.
And so if you have $1 million plus the other money that we already have, so we have
350, an
so
additional 350.
1.35. So you already are doing all right. So if we're focused on just do whatever you have to do to get something going, then I would not do this. If you think you want to take your time and to figure it out and try to get a big private donor and do some of those things, then I would say, and it's 4 or 5 year project, then I would say that you should do the temporary stuff, because that's probably too long to wait.
What worries me, Mr. Fivas, is we have to look no further than right across the street at Gaunt of how long it takes when we ask for grants and ask for help, and how many projects we've decided to pull the sidewalks back and just do them ourselves because it takes so long. I remember calling Councilman Estes on 20th Street when my daughter was a student living in those dorms, and it seems like it took forever, 6-8 years for 20th Street sidewalks because we used grant money. I know I'm preaching to the choir right now.
TDOT is exceptionally deliberate.
20th Street might have been.
20th Street.
Yeah, I know. Who knows? We don't know what
So-
district it's in.
So there's an item on 3 o'clock,
Yeah, I
and
know.
certainly you guys can work through on what you want to do, but that would be our recommendation.
But Joe, the property on Wildwood, the city owns it outright. It's not a city county piece of property.
No, the city owns all of that property.
That's a good point.
Yes, yeah.
Does the city have other property close by that can be used as more acreage, or have we looked at that? That the city owns, and we have quite a bit of property in the city.
We don't, no, we don't, I mean, we could build it in the retention pond across the street.
I'm just talking to move it in towards the city.
But, and I know you're kidding, or I'm kidding. You know, the IGA across the street certainly would be a great location to transform into something else, and then your administrative and operational costs are a lot less if they're in closer proximity. But I don't know if that's the right location, or
That won't pass NEPA. If you want to use HUD money, any type of grant money, the location across the street won't get past NEPA. It's too close to the road.
okay.
We might even put a road right through there.
Just thought you might want to.
So
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that
I
makes
think we
sense.
might be putting a road through there.
Yeah.
How far does a facility have to be off the road?
I don't know right off the top of my head, but we've already looked at those 2 facilities. And the reason I looked is because I was wanting to put my entitlement money in the existing building.
And that's another critical point is, so you have 1.35 now, the county has CDBG in a different form than we do. We could put CDBG in for the next couple of years, and we could probably get it to 2 million probably pretty easily.
Plus the value of the lot if we were to sell it.
Plus the value.
It is on the agenda
For you guys
Yeah.
to then have the conversation.
business.
At 3 o'clock it is.
All right.
If you borrowed money and used the 100,000 to pay debt service,
He has been.
that's creative bookkeeping.
I think he's right, his hand
Oh,
moves
that
right
was-
here.
oh
It
my
says
God.
sanitize.
Mr. Fivas,
Mouth.
I am cognizant of the time being 2:15, so I'm thinking with the approval of the council, if everybody's okay with saving our reports until the 3 o'clock meeting,
Yeah.
and that would allow you to give us a really good review on the 3 o'clock agenda.
Mayor, I need to get something on that.
Certainly.
For new business, or the consent agenda, new business, I guess would be. I remember sitting out, you guys remember this, sitting out in the audience and Richard Banks put me on the museum board before I even got up here. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Part, and I've been on 8 years, and I like to roll off of that if possible. It's in a good position.
The best it's been
Yeah,
in.
a long time. Yeah, and I share the financials with you guys, so in saying that, I'd like to, if I could, put Dan on that council, on that, to represent the council in that part. I know we gotta make a motion, but I'm recommending put Dan Moore, Council Moore on that.
So what we'll do is, we'll add that to new business item O, museum board appointment,
Yes.
council appointment.
Thank you.
It's on new business.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would add that if you give us a clear direction that, and when we do our strategic planning, that we would bring back a business plan of some sort on how we could tackle that, if that's what you wanted to do.
Return the favor.
Yeah.
Return favor from Richard.
Richard Banks has done so many things.
You can thank him for that.
I will.
He'll just laugh, I know
He will.
All right, so we'll begin our review, unless the council has any other questions about.
Any
City manager's
question on
report.
any projects right now?
Jim Sharp Park, just when the groundbreaking, or can you turn, when we're turning dirt? That's the only thing I really had, I don't want to take more time.
Real close to being able to sign the contract. We got our PDEC notice of coverage. We're waiting on an Army Corps letter, and we'll sign the contract and they'll start.
When will that be? I mean, the money goes
We've got
dry.
approval from the Army Corps, but we don't have the letter back yet.
Can
we've
Are we
got
calling
an
them
email
and
that
asking
says
them
they're
every
good.
day about where the
sorry.
letter's at, or? I don't know if it comes certified, because the mayor got a certification letter and never received it, so I'm just worried about us. getting-
As soon as we get the letter, we can
Okay.
start.
All right. Will you notify us when we can, and the date we break ground on that part? I'm curious. A lot of people out in the 3rd District are asking questions about it, so I just want to have a little bit more, we can
And-
narrow that down.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm being told that because we don't have our microphones pulled towards us, that people are having a hard time hearing us online and in the back of the room. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Mr. Fivas?
Yes, we have several public hearings. The first public hearing is to hear requests from ESCO Group, which is a consideration to rezone another property located at 922 Wildwood from CH to mixed use. This is another long line, and I think we're seeing more and more development in College Hill and Oldfield and on Wildwood. So I think that it's good to see action over there. Item 6B, you have to hear comments concerning a request by Hunter's Mill for consideration of ordinance to zone 10 acres of property at Pleasant Grove Church Road from CH to PUD 57. This is going to be an apartment complex. They had purchased this property a while, and they've been waiting to move forward. And essentially, they had always wanted to do apartments, but when they had this, they could do apartments in CH, and we made a change. So we're really just correcting the record and giving them the ability to do the apartments that they had at the initial approval. Is that correct, Robert? Yes.
Yes.
6C is to hear public comments concerning a request by multiple members of the Newman family for consideration of resolution to adopt a plan of service to annex 177 acres into Brimer Creek Road, Johnson School Road, and Mason Road. You want to come up, Robert, and give a kind of just this isn't the public hearing, but just kind of an overview on what we should expect with that.
Yes, of course. This is one of those where they're utilizing some existing infrastructure while the PUD also requires new infrastructure being put into place. It's proposed at about 560 lots. We'll see. They've already done a wetlands mitigation review of the site, and they've done full surveys and things like that. The PUD requires the infrastructure being improved. It requires some amenities. There's associated sewer costs from the planned service that Cleveland Utilities will require. And one of the things that we're requiring from a staff standpoint is they access out to Stone Lake Road, and there's not an exact set way where that may take place, I don't think yet, but that requirement would push most of the traffic out to our new interchange where we invested so much money, and keep it going off of some of the county roads that go in the other direction towards South Lee Highway. This is a multi-phase development that's going to have a different kind of level of feel to each one. It does include a section of townhomes, and their proposed timeline is 5 to 6 years from once the final approval occurs. From a
Johnson School Road improvements.
yeah, I was going to say, from a PUD standpoint, the infrastructure improvements require the existing roads, Johnson School Road and part of Mason Road, to be improved to a 50-foot right-of-way. Except for where the neighborhood entrances are, those will have to be about 70 feet because it requires turn lanes going each direction. And each PUD will have a kind of an independent landscaped feel in front of it, so the entire thoroughfare through there won't have one driveway on it. It's all going to be accessed from within the development, and it'll be a landscaped, what I call a front yard zone on both sides of the road that'll kind of give it a pretty good look compared to some. So we've worked hard. This PUD is quite extensive in its requirements, and both coming from staff and the applicant, to their credit, is pretty comfortable with all of it. We've worked through a few things, and they'll be here at 3, obviously, but and I'm sure there'll be some other faults. If there's specific questions y'all have for me, I'm happy to go over it now or at 3 o'clock.
And they have a decent number of large homes that they're planning on building, large lots.
Yeah, and kind of as I indicated, the different phases will be independent. So from if you take Stone Lake on the north, going from that spot, going back south, the lots tend to get bigger and bigger to the point where they've got, some 65 by 120 larger houses, larger lots as they get back towards the property.
Is this the same site that we talked about 2 years ago?
Part of it, there was 2 farms a few years ago. This is just one of them.
farm.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So from an economic development standpoint, it makes perfect sense to the city. This is rooftops in a part of town where we haven't had as much emphasis, so that's an exciting thing to think about.
Yeah.
Anything else?
This isn't track home any.
Well, as I said, I think there's different components. There is a townhome section, so it's gonna, they will kind of do it like that. I don't know in any independent builders involved. I've just worked with the developers. But from my understanding and their indications to me is that they haven't picked one builder yet. They may go with a couple, they may go with one.
But they talked about a different look for each house.
That's right.
It's not that track home look.
That's the intent the PUD's putting forth. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
And certainly we'll talk more about that at 3 o'clock. And I think Councilman Estes articulated this at the Planning Commission. And one of the key pieces is that we've been waiting for commercial to take hold more so in around that exit 20. And this is one way to start spurring that commercial. There's been grocery stores that have been looking around, they're just looking for that type of investment. You also have another, I think, 2,500 jobs that will come online out in that area over the next year or so with different at Spring Branch. So I think that having that housing will be beneficial.
Yeah, and we can't specify it, but, you know, I had hoped that it would be a development that would be buying material locally. You know, maybe using local help, that the money, you know, went back into the economy. And I know we can't specify that, but.
I don't know why we can't. I know that Chattanooga's investigating how they're doing that. Mayor Kelly's doing that right now.
Yeah, it's
working to find ways to keep the investment local.
Yeah, it just,
Might be something we need to look into.
yeah.
So, any more questions on that? We have a public hearing. D is a public hearing from Lada Patel and Kirk Crisp for plan of service resolution and ordinance for 2.86 acres at Blue String Road. You have public comments on a consolidated annual performance evaluation plan, and then you have item F, which is public comments concerning the annual action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program. You have item 7A, which is the authorizing the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with civil and environmental consultants for sampling of impaired streams. Is that that's a stormwater NPDES permit requirement for that. So we have to do that. Probably funded by stormwater. Item B, resolution 107, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with the Southeast Tennessee Development District in connection with the environmental review compliance for the 5-year consolidated plan. Resolution 108, item C, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract amendment with TDOT related to the Mouse Creek Greenway Phase 6. I believe it's a time extension.
And updated financials based on the grant reallocation.
That's amendment number 2.
Item 7D, resolution 113, authorizing the mayor to sign a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security for community traffic safety enforcement and education. This is a grant that we do every year. This grant goes to the police department for traffic enforcement activities. Item 7E is a bid for the Princeton Century Ginkgo trees. Item 7F is approving updated fleet terms of service with a car wash provider, Whistle Express. Just really extending this contract. Item 7G, a bid report, traffic signal installation on Mouse Creek Road at Duracell. This is to complete that as a part of Duracell's expansion project. And you see that they're constructing some ability for more trucks and trucking because they're making more and using it as a delivery and drop-off spot. That part of that agreement is that we would have a red light on South Mouse Creek. This red light would only be activated when a truck is coming out of that area, so probably 95% of the time it's just going to be green, except for when there's traffic that's coming.
Joe, real quick on that, I thought they were talking about adding a parking lot for workers on that side of the bridge across Mountain.
There isn't the.
That's what we talked about before. I remember that.
Yeah, they may have workers over there, but the bridge idea was nixed.
They'll use a stoplight there to cross.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Surplus property, 4 tasers from Code Enforcement Division as surplus property and sold on Gov Deals. Item 7I, which is an appointment to the Municipal Airport Authority, Mark Cheney for a 5-year term to expire September 2029. This is someone I believe spoke to the mayor, Steve Wright did, who's the outgoing chair, recommended Mr. Cheney for his outstanding credentials in aeronautics. Item 7J is a motion authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Greg Thomas for consulting and grant writing services pertaining to writing grants. Item 7K is authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Prior Bacon related to the Harris Connector development. All right. This is this developer that we have this agreement with in here is purchasing 100 acres of property behind the Jeep dealer and behind the gas station to develop that. One of the first things that they will do is build a convenience store right out in front off that location. The overall goal of the Harris connector is the connector that goes from Freewill down and connects into exit 20. So what this does is it allocates right away to the city to help accommodate that future connector that comes in. So we're getting right away and doing that. The things that we, and they have to go and they have to put the road on grade and do everything associated with the road. What we have to do is, I think we have stormwater pipe that we don't have to install it, but we have to purchase it. And we'll have to do the paving of this new section of road. So it's a partnership. It also requires us to have a stoplight which would exit from the UEC Theater and allow, this 100 acres allows access. If you go out there, which I know all of you have, it's a long turnout. If you're gonna have a lot more traffic and make left-hand turns out of there, with all the different things going on out there, that we felt that it was dangerous, that you needed to have some level of traffic device to allow those left-hand turns.
Mr. Fivas, when you're exiting UEC, you're directly parallel across from a cemetery. Is that part of its, there on the
No, it's not. The cemetery is down a little bit.
Okay.
But it's into that lot that's right across.
Got it.
Lot across from the street.
Is this currently in the city boundary? This 100 acres?
Part of it is.
Should we not maybe get all of it before we go to an agreement? I mean, I saw him clearing yesterday. I was out there.
All of this part is in the city. He is working on because part of it's outside the urban growth boundary. He has to do like a 2-step annexation, and he's working on that.
Okay, then I'm fine. Thank you.
And so you're good with that, Jonathan? Authorizing the mayor to apply for the Reconnecting Communities grant. This is a grant. We discovered this as an opportunity. This grant is especially for communities that have been disconnected because of infrastructure and policy changes, going back to in the 70s when we had the urban renewal. That a lot of those activities is it's made to help correct some of those, and really essentially what it is it establishes the new streetscaping and connections into Inman Street and into our new street network. One of the things is it's about a $14 million project, which is the cost estimate. The grant is a 50-50, but we can use MPO funds to wrap that down to about a 25%?
80-20.
80-20, so we can get it down to about an 80-20 using MPO funds to make that happen. We intend to look at or bring to the council any and all opportunities to help get this infrastructure done. We believe that in October they will probably release the RAISE grant, in which we will apply for that, which will do everything south of the bridge in the downtown area, and that's an 80-20 grant. So this is just the next step in that process. And this grant is specifically tailored for pretty much exactly this kind of situation. And we'll see what happens if the council wants to make the application. I believe it's due September 31st.
Yes.
So, on that, resolution 114, approval of the consolidated annual performance plan. And then you have the N, which is 115, authorized an application to the Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Grant Program for the community tree planting. This application includes doing all the new trees at Tinsley Park. There'll be, when we get the new parking lot done, it will have new trees in there, and this grant will provide those, and it will also provide more trees for the area out there. Any questions on the consent agenda? Moving on to new business, if there's no questions. Zoning ordinance 52, we discussed this in the public meetings, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. And then we have we need a council member appointment to fill the Stormwater Committee appointment, which was formerly Councilman Johnson. Then we need a motion. The mayor needs to make a recommendation, and whoever that recommendation, the council needs to consider that. And then you have authorizing the City of Cleveland Beer Board to issue a special occasion permit for the Witches Wine and Spirits stroll. That we did this event last year, and again it's again on between Church Street and Parker Street. Christy Goza is the person that came and talked to the council last year, and this will just authorize that, and that will be held on October 26th. The emergency shelter bid, as we discussed before, and then you have marketing and communications. We have a firm that will do content design, that we will have someone do monthly elected official podcasts to say, here's what's going on in the city, doing other special communications that we can push out on social media, helping with other more technical social media aspects, emergency communications, and just to have some additional content and professional design to improve those areas. And with that, city offices will be closed on the 14th, and then we have a meeting on the 28th. Any questions from there, Mr. Mayor?
Any questions for the council on the agenda review by Mr. Fivas? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Fivas. We're grateful for that. There are no announcements at the 1 o'clock meeting. We will reconvene at 3 p.m.